Gurguit deck, which is very reliant on the Unite skill. It's hard to say whether that is actually what he's playing, because, even before Unite was a thing, Gurguit had its own entire way of just playing the deck, which revolved around just getting a lot of power and getting several attacks in with cards like Quill. The grade 2 unit he has, if it hits the Vanguard, it can kind of blast one to put itself to soul or retire. It's either retire or put itself to soul to check top 3 for a card and call itself out. The Gigantic Ringer is an amazing stand trigger that gives +5 to a unit that's called, stands it up. Well, it gives +5 unit K to a unit. It goes back to deck and you draw a card.
So we see early on, even on the turn 2 already, that Jason Lee, our local
Royal Paladin player.
Yes. Going very aggressive on the turn 2, just like most Royal Paladins would go. And he gets the Sanctuary Guard.
Oh, Paul, please.
It's okay. Yeah, and he gets the Sanctuary Guard right away. So he's setting up the Flogal trigger already. So that means he most likely has a Blaster Blade in his hand.
Yeah, the Blaster Blade Flogal combo has definitely been the bane of many players' existences since its inception.
Yes.
Oh, but definitely a very good way to avoid it is getting a trigger.
Well, he can still swing rear guard at this point, so he's fine.
Yep.
Oh, he's playing the no text.
No text blast. I mean, most people definitely don't have much use of Blaster Blades on card effects. The ability to retire something, but for the heavy cost of Counter Blast 2 these days, it's kind of a not as utilized ability. Swinging with the Vanguard, Sanctuary Guard Dragon. What do you think of this deck?
I wonder if... Oh, actually, I have the deck list on me. So, I wonder if Jason is playing the version where it plays way less grade 3s, and he's not. He's playing the 7 grade 3 version. Yes, he's playing Sanctuary Guard and Alfred. Oh, okay, he's playing Exceed. So, he might be looking out for like a Link Joker matchup.
Yeah.
He has Exceed in 3s, so he's definitely not concerned about riding Exceed. He definitely just wants Sanctuary Guard all the time.
Okay, so this is definitely not the Unite build, that's for sure.
Oh, okay.
This is the...
Which grade?
This is the OG... Okay, so... This unit, when it hits...
What's the unit called?
God, I forget. It's like something noose.
I don't see it on here. It's not Scourge Point.
Well, that's the G zone.
Right.
Looking for the main deck.
That's the grade 4.
Oh, the grade 4. Oh, so his effect is that whenever something is called, he and the unit that are called both gain +5k.
Oh, that is Scourge Point, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Scourge Point Dragon.
Okay, it's Scourge Point. Okay.
And Gnus, if he hits, he'll be able to call a unit. Was able to use the Gigantic Ringer's effect to draw a card and give power to Gnus.
Okay. So I'm assuming what threw off your Unite was the fact that the rearguard grade 3.
Calling 2 units activates Unite, if that's what you're asking.
Well, I'm saying...
it's the stand trigger that gets an effect off of the Unite.
Okay. But is that the usual grade 3 they play? As the secondary to Gurguit?
I'm not sure if they still play him. He was the original
He was originally really good. I used to see him a lot.
But I believe that they got a new guy that does something ridiculous.
So we see him check critical trigger. Jason is currently set to 4 damage now, but
it's 4 to 5 at the moment.
In damage wise, but on a Sanctuary Guard turn, the Gold Paladin player only has 4 cards in hand, and he's already at 5 damage. I think it's going to be really hard for the Gold Paladin player to survive this turn.
Especially with the Flogal crit behind Blaster. 2
Flogals and the Regali. I think this will be a very hard turn to survive.
Yeah, this Royal Paladin is definitely one of those decks you do not want to be taken to high damage early on in the game. It's very hard to guard some of the heavier attacks, and player just had to take that one.
Okay, so that was game 1.
So that was game 1?
Yeah, keep in mind these rounds are best of 3, so the Gold Paladin player has time to redeem himself. But that's the strength of a Royal Paladin deck, being able to rush so heavily on turn 2. Even while he got a defensive trigger, it was very different. It was very hard to withstand all the attacks, just the sheer amount of them.
Chat is telling me that the usual backup grade 3 these days is now Ezel for the Link Joker matchup.
Yes, they run... would it be the Scissors, I assume?
Yeah, Scissors. It's either Scissors or Platinum.
Okay, so I'm looking at the deck list, and he runs 3 of the Veteran Knight. So he's only playing Gurguit and the Veteran Knight. So no Ezel here, no. And
Perhaps he's just trying to stick to a stronger strategy because the grade 3 does something in rear guard. So if it hits Vanguard, he can search for a card, I believe. Check the top 3 or something. There's some amount of cards to play out a card.
Do you believe that's too slow for like a meta like this?
It's hard to say. Because the way that this version of Go Paladin works is that it relies on getting like massive attack on units, so that it shouldn't really matter how slow it is, simply because he can go ham with it with a Scourge Point Dragon, making it so it shouldn't have too much of a problem hitting. Or at least that's the general idea of it. Playing the AK Vanilla Gareth.
That's surprising.
An interesting tech.
Let's see how many copies of Gareth he's running. He plays 4 copies of Gareth. So I wonder if he's trying to hit numbers with this.
He may.
Probably away from here. Away from here. So the early turns again. The Royal Paladin player is able to get an early rush on. Even with the Gareth doesn't make a real difference.
It does. It doesn't.
As the Benon is able to create a good column. Check the front.
I asked Andrew.
So the Gold Paladin player is forced to take 3 damage early on. He rode the Quill and was able to play. He's trying to push for a counterattack. I think at this point, the Gold Paladin player should not be aiming at Vanguard. You have to start to counter the rush, because you see that the Royal Paladin player was able to drive check a grade 2 on the previous turn.
Yeah.
We'll see if he has the grade 3. He either has the Exceed in his hand or he doesn't want to ride grade 3.
He chooses to ride the Sanctuary Guard.
Okay, so he did have it.
Or he can try to roll double. On the third try, it doesn't matter what you pay for double.
So the Gold Paladin player had to throw away a Quill in order to guard an extra attack, just like the last game where he had to throw away a grade 1 Stride Enabler just to not be at so much damage. But it's really hard. If at any point the Royal Paladin player gets a critical trigger, again, the Gold Paladin player is in trouble again. It feels like it's hard to push back.
It's a really hard deck to try and just stop its shenanigans from going off.
Right. Even with just boosting like a 4K trigger, did he guard? Okay, so he ended up guarding
with the heal trigger.
Wow, guarding so early with the heal trigger must not feel good.
I mean, if you see his hand right now, he's got 3 perfect guards in there.
That's insane.
That is a very difficult hand to work around this many attacks.
Do you think he should have spent a Vanguard attack the previous turn, trying to hit a rear guard, rather than going for the Vanguard attack? To alleviate some pressure?
It's hard to say if that would actually alleviate anything, because the deck, the Royal Paladin deck, at least the Sanctuary Guard version, just gets so much advantage. Like, he could kill a rear guard, but it's more than likely Jason probably already has another one waiting to replace the AK Benon.
Will there be a situation ever where you do that?
I would still definitely consider like hitting a rear guard as a good idea against this deck, especially to stop Jason from getting damage.
Yes, the counterblasts are really important. Like, without the counterblast,
like
he wouldn't have been able to make the Flogo play.
Exactly, the Lu
wouldn't
even be a situation.
Right.
Playing one of the newer strides, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, gets to check the top 3 for a rear guard, and then goes for the Gigantic Ringer effect to give power to that unit and draw a card.
Right. So, with the Gold Paladin player holding so many perfect cards. Oh, I just saw them. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
He
got
he
Gigantic
threw the
Ringer
stand back
off of Gigantic Ringer. That's very unfortunate. Putting down the Gurguit quit.
To draw a card, is that worth it?
Hopefully to draw into like triple crit, because this guy is gonna definitely need it. Needs something to keep himself alive at 4 damage against this deck.
Well, in this situation, would you hold on to the crit to just guarantee to have a 10k in your hand, as opposed to sending it into Soul and potentially drawing like a dud?
It's a hard decision.
Right, let's see what he draws.
I think he drew another gigantic ringer actually.
Okay.
Oh, but he got the stand trigger
That's good.
and a heal. Okay, so he's definitely back in this now with that.
Okay. So let's see what happens because now he has a heal trigger. He has a way to defend himself a little better. The problem, even though Royal Paladins have an extremely strong early game, and they feel fairly unstoppable later on with the Regali, a heal trigger definitely just disrupts a lot of aggression. That's why aggro decks can be very difficult because once you hit a heal or like a good defensive, it's really hard to just get past the wall.
I mean, but he definitely turned this around with not just the heal, but the stand, the ability to hit with.
Looking at Jason's deck list, calling the Benon was probably the best part, because if you draw a Benon, you would never play it and activate its effect, because there's so much more to do in the late game with one counterblast, such as another Knight of Twin Swords, or we see that he's playing a Blaster Blade Spirit in his deck. So one counterblast is definitely used much better by other cards than Benon. So just calling it out right now to get it out of the way is probably the best idea.
And Jason getting the crit and the heal trigger on the drive check. Pushing the Gold Paladin player back into a corner at 5 damage to 3 damage now.
3 minutes left in Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Players have 3 minutes left in the round.
Drops the stand trigger to pay for the cost of PG.
With multiple PGs in your hand against the Regali plays, you wouldn't want to throw a PG away to use a PG because the numbers are just way too big, and you don't know when your next hero trigger is coming up. I believe 2 were already played. One Slaymai and one. Was that the one that was through the drive check?
I do believe that one was due to drive check. Gold Paladin player going for Scourge Point Dragon. You don't usually see this card used anymore because of the
Scourge Point.
I'm sorry, Spear Cross Dragon. You don't usually see it played anymore simply because of the new support. There's a new card that essentially does the same thing as Spear Cross, except it does it during attack.
Maybe he wants to have something occur during the main phase.
Perhaps. So it goes for a grade 1 I'm not too familiar with, Gareth, and the Soul Blast 2 on Flip 2.
Did he have enough soul to pay for the cost?
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
He will choose to.
He got the Lionett Heat and maybe the Lionett. Gigantic Ringer's effect goes off again. Or is that a grade 2? It's hard to tell. It might be one of the newer cards. I've never seen it before.
Looking at the deck list, it might be Holy Mage Ellie.
Probably.
Yes. I will look up the effect of the card right now, as Jason also has to look up the effect of the card.
Yeah. What do you think about this guy bringing this deck to the finals like this? This is definitely something I didn't expect to see OG Gurguit played at the finals, for sure.
I was expecting Terry to be playing Royal Paladin because he was a very big Royal Paladin player. But I wonder...
Goes dry on the triggers.
He should still be okay with the 2 perfect cards he still kept in his hand, right? He should be okay.
This is going to be a very rough turn for the Gold Paladin player, Terry.
Is he down to 4 cards again?
Well, it's not even just that. Jason has 2 Counterblast, and it's going for Alt Mile.
Ultima.
For the free grade 2 plus the power to the front row.
With 2 open Counterblast. I'm sure it's, definitely a Blaster Blade.
So allow him to get a multitude of attacks out. Gold Paladin player does still have access to Gurguit's Generation Break, though.
So, I found the unit that the Gold Paladin playing. It was Knight of Faint Sun Marcia.
Unite ability.
Yes. At the end of each turn, you may pay the cost. If you do countercharge 1 by putting it into the soul.
And has resist.
And it has resist. And it's an AK. What do you think of that card?
Well.
Okay, well, well, we see that game's going over. So that's an easy 2-0 for the Gold Paladin, for the Royal Paladin player. So, yeah.
As you were saying, you mentioned that you expected Royal Paladins from Terry.
Yes, because when I last saw him, he was a big Royal Paladin player.
Right.
So I wonder why he changed his mind.